Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Just the Cast. Now, before we begin with today's episode, I just want to sort of re explain what Just the Cast is because we got a lot of DMs and a lot of you were confused about what we said last time. So, just to sort of explain what Just the Cast is and how Just the Cast is different from our regular podcast, is that Just the Cast is going to be sort of a show that we release with video every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks that sort of runs down on the news that's been happening over those past 2 weeks and 3 weeks rather than where on our regular podcast we pick a particular topic and discuss just that topic. On Just the Cast, we're going to be talking about a variety of different topics that
Yeah.
have sort of gone down in the past 2 to 3 weeks.
Also, to address the people that have joined our audience, so to speak, through the class, through YouTube, basically, we also have a regular podcast that we upload on all audio streaming platforms like Spotify and iTunes, and you can find that in the link in the description below.
Always plug.
Cool. Yes. So a lot of stuff has happened since the last time we did this, and we were actually supposed to record this, I think, on Saturday once or on Tuesday once, but thank God we did.
Not.
How have we done this? How? One second, I'll just. So we were about this. We were about to record this episode on, I think, Saturday. Right now is a Sunday. But I'm so glad we didn't
Why are
because
you so glad, Yajat?
just Kanye West has tweeted out, and I quote: "We must now realize the promise of America by trusting God and unifying our vision and building our future." This is perfectly normal things to say. But then, I am running for president of the United States. Hashtag 2020 vision.
And Elon
Now,
Musk replied, "You have my full support."
oh
So
my
I
God.
think this comes as a shocking development to some. But
Does it
one thing to
really?
note,
Because he's been saying this for like 3 years now.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so like this hasn't been the first time he's announced that he's going to run for president of the United States. Until now, we don't really know if he's planning to make this just another meme or just another joke, or if he's genuinely serious
Yeah,
about
like this
this.
could just be another album promotion for the man because if
Yeah.
you notice if you've been following Kanye for a while, you might notice a pattern of whenever he's releasing new music or a new album, there will be some sort of drama in his realm of Twitter or whatever social media he's using at the time.
Yeah, I mean it's quite smart from like his side because I mean it's got 1.1 million favorites. It's got it five around 500K retweets. Like so obviously people are talking about it. Like it's every but this is like the main thing that's going on trending today. So yeah, I mean it's a smart move from him, but obviously there are people on the other side of the spectrum which are not taking this as
People
in
that
good
can't
humor.
imagine Kanye West sitting on a table with other presidents of the world discussing global politics.
Yeah, it's the Democrats, and there's some serious conspiracies going around on why Kanye tweeted this.
So one of them is that he's trying to split up the black vote. So currently, according to the demographics of voters, the majority of black voters in the United States vote Democratic, right?
Yeah,
What the so-called Democrat conspiracy theory is that Republicans are trying to split up the black vote by making Kanye stand for president, which is honestly quite outlandish and just very random. Like they've ran out of things to make
yeah. I
conspiracy
mean,
theories about.
and I don't know. Again, maybe this might just be me being very ignorant, but I don't like. It doesn't work like that. Like you can't just nominate somebody. There's an entire like there's the primaries. I mean, if
There's
you
an
could just
entire
nominate,
registration process which he
yeah, like
hasn't
it's
gone through.
and
So
like the fact that people are taking this so serious, like if you read the comments on that, there's obviously a very distinct half of which where people are taking in good humor, like us. But there's also like quite a part of it saying, like taking it very seriously.
And there's
And
also a part which is just outright racist, saying black men can't be in power.
and this is just one of the things that I've read right now, and it says it's titled "The Obvious Plan," and it's one of the replies to Kanye West tweet. Sorry. saying West is a Trump supporter. This stunt is likely a pact between Trump and West to pull votes from Biden, who is likely to focus black voters. It's an insult to black voters to think they would automatically vote for Kanye West based on race. Hashtag Biden 2020.
You know what
Now,
strikes me as funny in that though is that Kanye West isn't assuming that black voters are going to vote for him. It's the person
yeah,
who's writing the article claiming racism is true who's cribbing about black.
I think I think it's the same thing. I'm okay. I'm not going to compare Kanye West to like Jake Paul, but I'm saying a lot of people when like no, listen to me. I have a perfect analogy to
One
make
of
it.
the greatest artists of all time and the
No,
brother of
listen.
Logan Paul.
No, listen. So like when people go like, oh, Jake Paul did this or did like for example married Tana Mojo, a lot of people are like, oh, that's so stupid. But then some people also go like, oh, Jake Paul's this YouTube mastermind who knows how to manipulate the algorithm to do so that he gets so many views. But it's like I feel like it's also the same thing with Kanye, where either people are going like, okay, so he's got a little bit in the head and he's tweeted this out, or some people are like, oh no, it's this super complicated conspiracy to overthrow, and I feel like there's no in between.
And
Like,
people are also taking Elon Musk support for him so seriously, like now he has a billionaire's backing. But have you seen the rest of the stuff that Elon Musk tweets on a general
yeah,
basis? Like,
Just
but
today, Elon Musk related Tesla short shorts for an extremely uh, vivid price point of $69,420.
we're not
oh
putting this
yeah, yeah.
in, bro.
Oh my god, yeah. I think there's not much else to say about that, is there? I mean,
Yeah,
US is
so
a weird place. I
I think
mean,
it'll be interesting to see where this goes. And one thing that like I think people have noticed is that no one really wants to vote for Biden, but according to some
yeah.
people, he's the only other option
It's like what
lined up.
happened in India. Like, no one wanted Rahul Gandhi in the office, but then the
No,
only
but
other option was Modi.
no, I think also the issue being that a lot of people actively don't like no, there are not a lot of people that actively don't like Biden. It's just that like I mean yes, there is some serious charges that have been put on him, but I meant from the perspective of just as a personality type of somebody who is standing to run for the president. A lot of people actively hate him. It's just that nobody is like a pure Biden fan. Like within the Democrats, you had a lot of people that were pure Bernie fans who would
There's
just
a
like
lot
live and
of
die for.
passion surrounding Trump, whether you love him or hate him.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like that's the only. And if I don't know if you guys have seen, and I recommend the viewers to go and watch this after you're done with this podcast. We need the watch time. But go watch the latest episode of Patriot Act, where he discusses how the American democracy is sort of flawed, where it's not exactly majority vote like in India, and if a lot of our international audience might not know.
Are you trying to hint at
If you have
Russian involvement?
no, I'm saying if you haven't read 10th grade civics, we have a very clear system for majority vote in India, where it's basically the people who get most voted for become the leaders of the country. That's just how it works. But unfortunately, it's not like that for the US, in which case it's sort of the biggest minority wins, where Trump didn't get the most votes, but he was the one who got
He got the
nobody.
most seats in the electoral college. Yajat, just get to the point. Hassan Minaj, please sponsor us.
There's actually a much more fundamental problem. We are doing elections wrong.
Moving on, another major development in the past 2 weeks has been TikTok being banned in India. I think this has hurt all of us because TikTok went from being that super cringy app two people were on who used to do like really weird dances.
Where
and
Joe
throw it
Biden
back.
also campaigned for himself.
Hello, folks. It's Joe Biden, and you're listening to Here's the Deal. Dave, what the hell? I told you to wear your mask outside.
Mr. Vice President?
Yeah, Dave, it's me.
How are you doing this?
You need to wear your mask outside. I don't care if you're just walking your dog.
Is that better?
He's never going to learn.
Oh yes.
And now it's become something super mainstream where everyone gets really funny content from. Sure, there are still some cringy elements to it, but as an app, I think it's evolved to a point where people actually like it. Not just to see 15-year-olds dancing.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok is home to a lot. Like, you can find everything there. You can find political candidates trying to campaign for themselves. You can find funny content, as Swayam said, cringy content. You can find 15-year-olds dancing, and you can also find extremely racist content.
For sure, for
Sure.
sure. So I think it
Um,
being banned has hit a lot of people in India. It's also started a spur of new apps being made, such as Mitro app. I don't know where. I have no idea where they got such a name from, but I think it's a good app. I haven't tried it out yet, but I do plan to. And I think there's
Really?
just been
oh, really, Swayam?
Please let us know your initial thoughts.
If you want to hear an in-depth review of Mithro, the social app, please leave a like and subscribe. Um, yeah, that's probably not the
Downgraded
biggest plugin
version
that we
of
could do.
technical Guruji.
Yeah,
But
no,
basically, they've banned it because of escalations in border tensions with China. And I think Yajat can speak a bit about that.
I would get into depth about like Sino-Indian relations, but I don't think that's what our audience is looking for. So I'll just shorten it down to essentially China has been allying with Pakistan within the feud of India-Pakistan, which I'm sure a lot of people are aware of. And along with that, just like Pakistan has been trying to expand its frontiers into what we could say is Indian territory, or at least India claimed it to be their territory. China has been trying to do the same. And due to this, as well as a lot of economic backlog and exploitation that India has gone through, especially around the last 10 to 20 years, where people have tried to create their own businesses but been absolutely stomped on by Chinese products due to like the way the state helps the Chinese, how they're allowed to run on such low, low profit margins. And I think all of this has just led to this tension that's built up. And this, I feel like the latest skirmish was just a push over the edge, where India just felt like they needed to do something.
And their response was banning an app
Banning
15-year-olds
59
dance on.
apps.
So I'm repeat that in that cut out.
And their response was banning an app where 15-year-olds dance on.
Exactly. What other possible response could
It's a
that be?
honestly a great geopolitical move. I don't think China can respond in any other way now. I think it's over for them.
But
No,
one thing to note is that although this is great that the Indian government is trying to somehow make a symbolic move against China, there will also be backlash against this. It's not like China's just going to sit back. They're definitely going to have some response to this, which probably won't be that great for India. So while you're praising the government for making such a bold and daring move, also keep in mind the consequences of what could happen and what this could lead to.
And China will definitely hit harder than India did. Like, they're not gonna go around banning Arogya Setu.
no. So I think the main issue with having this sort of, one could say, proxy war through these companies is like within China, you could make the argument that a company has a lot, the state has a lot of influence on the company, right? Like you see, and it's not a new thing. Huawei, Huawei was banned from America because of like spy detection software and all of this,
There was a lot of
and
data
which could
issues.
exactly, and which could be heavily tied to the state's relation with private companies. And the same could be seen with TikTok. But China can't exactly retaliate in the same way because in India, given the state that we have a democracy, thankfully, and the private is different from the state, it's like banning an Indian app or an Indian company would just give
Banning a
disadvantage
company won't have any effect on the government.
exactly. It would just be that company itself. So that's just something to consider because, like, again, we're here sitting here speculating, but this move itself, and again, there's a lot of conversation about this move, and I'd love to hear your contributions too, is the fact that the China has been exploiting or has been Chinese companies have been taking the exploits of, having these benefits of running in China, and that's the major reason why India has been impacted, right? Especially and as also the military tension. But banning an app like this is a very symbolic move. In it doesn't provide any tangible benefit to India or any disadvantage to China. So while we're praising, it doesn't actually make that much of a difference in terms of just like exports going out, imports coming in, all these made in China products we have. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a symbolic move, and I think that was the entire point of it. Like 50 crores of daily revenue loss is nothing for a country like China, right? When their 50 crores is just like pennies for them, right? So
I think last time when
I
we
think
tried recording this as well, Swam, you had some number which was like 0.75% or something of their revenue.
Yeah. It's a very small fraction of revenue for.
China. So in general, this yeah.
Yeah, continue.
Oh, okay. So I think now that we've covered TikTok being banned and how it's
I
impacting.
asked you a question and then you just ended the topic.
Sorry.
Swam's
I
very
think it's
distracted right now because he has a lot of construction workers in the background.
Yeah,
so
before.
I think definitely it's only a symbolic move, but let's see if this symbolism is of any good in the coming future. I think you can speculate that much on it too. I think we'll have to wait and see what the Chinese government does in retaliation. One point I disagree with, which was what you brought up, is to say that when the Chinese government will continue and ban Indian apps, it won't affect the Indian government. Yeah, it'll definitely affect them to a lesser extent than it will affect the Chinese government if the Indian government bans Chinese apps. Okay, that's a bit of a tongue twister, but yeah. But it will still definitely affect the Indian government, right? Because it's all about revenue coming in, people having employment, taxes being collected. So one way or the other, it will affect them. Maybe it won't affect them to such a large extent, but it will affect the Indian
Yeah,
government.
that's true. Also, another point that before we move on to the other important things that we have to speak about, uh, do you think, and this is another major conversation that's going around, is that given that India is such a budget-oriented country because of
Jugaad.
various factors, that and basically everybody wants to save money. Also, there is a large power disparity in terms of wealth, but essentially no one wants to go buy, not everybody wants to go buy a gold iPhone, is what I want to say. So that's why Chinese apps as well as smartphones is what I want to focus on. Smartphone and electronics has been a big um, part of the Indian electronic sector. So how do you think we should play it out in terms of, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, we shouldn't buy Chinese products. We need to take
I
a strong
honestly
stand. But
don't think that can ever be possible. Like, at least right now, I don't think that's going to be possible because if you look around you, at least half of what's around you right now would have been manufactured in China. I'm not just talking about technology, like even your tissue box holder or whatever you have, even your glass, it probably is manufactured in China. And I think it's going to be extremely hard to completely phase Chinese products out of our lives.
I think what you're saying is true. Like it's gonna be super hard, but I think if you really want to support the Indian government and the Indian armed forces, there are small ways you can do it. Although it's impossible to eradicate any one country out of your daily life in such a globalized world, especially if it's a country like China, which practically runs the world at this point.
well,
But you can
well,
take small steps on your behalf, right? So like I wanted to order a plush toy from Amazon. I like a plush toy in general. Um, but
why?
it was
May I
very
Sorry,
ask
cute.
what?
why?
Bro, it was an Avatar The Last Airbender, super cute plush toy. Right? It was available on Flipkart and it was also available on AliExpress for practically the same price. I think what a move that could help India and the Indian economy is if you just ordered it from Flipkart instead of AliExpress. It's all just being conscious about the decisions you're making and how they impact and who the money is going to.
Yeah, I also think that before we move on, an important distinction, and this would probably be a good segue, but an important distinction that should be made is that we need to read up and get ourselves aware on, like, a lot of people are hating
Where our
on,
products are
like,
coming from.
exactly. A lot of people are hating on smartphone manufacturers like OnePlus and Vivo, but these are also smartphone manufacturers that have huge plants in India, in like Bangalore and all of these places. So and they're giving an employment to a lot of Indian people. So it's like we need to be careful of where that, like, comes and goes from. Similar to Another Indian brand that has been dominating the news, Patanjali. Uh, I don't know where to take this from really.
Coronel.
Um, would you like to give an introduction to this piece of scientific advancement?
Okay, sure. So, there's been a great scientific revolution in our country coming from the mind of the great Baba Ramdev. And as you all know, we're facing a global pandemic right now, and Baba Ramdev has come up with what one would say is the greatest scientific invention of the past century, and that is coronel.
So
So
Coronel was supposed to be this one-stop solution to coronavirus. But yeah,
that
I think
turned
they
out
got
to be a vitamin C tablet.
yeah, it was essentially a nutrients tablet, and I feel like even if he marketed it like that, he would have sold many. But obviously, with his great marketing strategies to fool the Indian public, um, no, also another story I'd like to share with relation to this is that I think I read up somewhere in Mozambique. I don't want to quote the African country because I don't remember which one it is. I think it's Mozambique or one of them. Basically, in that country, a lot of people, just like in India, there's a dominance of people like Babas who claim to have some knowledge we're not privy to, but they were sharing their own solutions to coronavirus. And the president basically said that, okay, if you have a solution, we'll give you coronavirus and you can take that solution on yourself. And if that works, then fine. Yeah, I think that really worked. So yeah,
Okay, so one thing, you very important thing that you forgot to touch upon when we're talking about Coronil is that it actually has trace amounts of cow mutra in it, which is cow excretory product. And I think that's what's really making it such a powerful and impactful cure. And that's what actually makes it a scientific revolution.
I feel like
And
so.
Gaumutra
I
has
was
been a
trying to.
constant feature in all of our episodes. So if you haven't checked those out, like Yajat said at the beginning of this
These are the
episode,
worst
go
pluggins
ahead
ever.
and listen to the rest of our episodes. Link in the description.
Also, Swayam is trying to give as much leeway to Baba Ramdev as possible because he obviously has such intimate relations with him. We'll insert a picture right now of
Wait,
him
what?
in a or an intimate relation. That sounds weird, no?
Yeah, bro, what is wrong with you, Yajat? I met him on a flight once.
Sorry. No,
Bro,
basically, you
I'm
met him
telling
on
you,
a
we're
flight.
gonna get blocked for this. We're genuinely gonna get like lynched or something for this. It's on your hands if anything happens.
Haters.
Like, share, and subscribe, guys. That's all we can ask for. But yeah, I I don't think there's much to add there, is it?
Okay, so
Fine.
as I was
Your
saying before,
transition.
Swayam interrupted me while all of us were looking at Kanye's tweet. We also saw a lot of tweets about celebrities and YouTubers getting cancelled online,
Yeah.
and that was quite a lot because one of the biggest like YouTube channels that started when YouTube was small was Jenna
Jenna
Marbles, and she sort
Marbles.
of
Yeah.
created the she sort of like paved the way for a lot of YouTubers.
She's one of the founding sort of YouTubers that still stayed on to this day. Like
Yeah,
most of them have disappeared.
and
But yeah.
she got called out for something she did a long time ago. I think it was blackface, if I'm not wrong, or some
It
or
was
she.
blackface, and basically she made very like subtle racial cues, or she like for example the blackface thing. Also, she just did that to impersonate Nicki Minaj in the video, and like she mentioned as like a Asian stereotype or something. Like she made a Asian joke in like one of her raps or something like that. But I think, and this is my personal take on it, is that one, if you look at YouTube then and YouTube now, like personally, I think about a month or ago,
YouTube
one
was
of
like
old
Reddit back then. It was
yeah,
much
like
more
one
edgy.
of old. I saw one of old PewDiePie videos, and it came on, and I was just like, okay, this is like I don't mind
It's
any
very
offensive
different.
content. It's just that it's very different to what it is now. Like creators now are either very self-aware or they're just very self-conscious.
And I think
So
the
like
world is just slowly getting more sensitive. And that's not
yeah.
necessarily a bad thing, but it is happening.
Also, that's one discussion, but another thing is just calling somebody out on it and then expecting some sort of like it's sort of like I feel like this is our we could play our own personal part and it like if in a classroom somebody calls somebody out on a mistake they're either waiting for everybody to also join in, going like, "Oh, that's so bad," or it'd be like, "Okay, you know what? That's fine. They've changed. Let's move on." So I feel like that's not a culture that's
But
been
I think
promoted,
the
but rather,
argument a lot of people will make there is that this when you make a mistake in a maths class, it's because like you just made a mistake. You weren't intending on saying 5 plus 3 is 9. You said it by mistake. But when you're doing something like blackface, you're intentionally trying to do blackface, and that I think that's what the argument a lot of people on Twitter are giving.
no, so the example of the classroom that I gave was just to like give a social setting. Like even at your own house, we create our own personal sort of dictation of what is good and what is not based on other people's reactions, right? So and we're the ones giving our reactions ourselves. So it's like if we can play our own small part and if somebody comes up to say, "Oh, Jenna Marble cancelled," which is a load of nonsense. But we can just go like, okay, you know what? They've changed. Let's move on. Like you can see whether somebody's changed or not. Like when, like if you see
Shane
Logan
Dawson
Paul in
is a really big
2017,
example as well. He got
yeah,
cancelled
like
by one of the most powerful families in Hollywood, the Smith family. So
um,
he sort of made a sexual joke about Jada
Will
Smith, I
Smith's
think.
daughter.
Yeah, wait, Will Smith's daughter, sorry.
Smith's daughter, yeah.
And she was 11 at the time, so that
Willow
Yeah.
got a lot of
Smith,
backlash. Yeah, Willow
I think.
Smith.
Jada Pinkett Smith is his wife, though she was in gossip.
Okay, my bad. So there was
This
that as
is
well.
yeah. So again, I think the summary from this entire cancel culture is the fact that I mean, there's a lot of factors into it. The fact that you don't have to go and yell at somebody and tell them they're cancelled. You can just type it online. So feel obviously safe doing that. But I just feel like most of the people don't really come up with the entire cancel thing themselves. They just ride along the wave of, okay, Jenna Marbles cancelled. Okay, fine. I'll also tweet Jenna Marbles is cancelled.
But honestly, I think cancel culture is just becoming a joke at this point. Like, I can literally count the number of times Kanye West has supposedly been cancelled, and it's in like the hundreds, right? Like, each time he supported a picture of him with Trump, people are like, cancel Kanye, right? And like,
But
whenever
they
he's
aren't
done anything,
actually canceling Kanye. Like if
exactly, right? It's just become a joke at this point. It's something like saying something for the sake of saying it. You have no actual intention to ruin someone's career
no,
or
but
whatever they've
a
built.
lot of the times it isn't a joke. Like if you look at like we were talking about Jenna Marbles, right? She because of all the negative attention she was receiving on Twitter, etc., she decided to completely quit YouTube. Like it affects
No,
people not just
I
personally,
think
but like it
uh,
can literally ruin their careers.
I think what Swayam is saying is the fact that like from our perspective, it doesn't seem like a lot. And even if they understand that, then like for example, like one of my favorite YouTubers, True Jordy, got cancelled, I think in 2018, 2019 or something. And he made a video on it later on where he like discussed this entire procedure. But like from my perspective, like I didn't even know he got cancelled. And I follow his YouTube. And it's like same thing happened with Tanmay Bhatt in India, where when AIB got like I think bankrupt because of some assault charges, where he went to the bar once, like while he was sort of recovering through this entire procedure, and it was the same people coming up to him, speaking to him, taking pictures, and it's like these celebrities just need to understand the fact that if you still have your core fan following, they will understand, especially since YouTube is such a personal uh, medium where you feel like you're connecting with somebody. So if you had that core fan following, you're never really cancelled.
So in
Yeah, for
case
sure.
anyone
Like
tries
and
to cancel us in the future, just keep that in mind.
episode 2 flashbacks.
Oh God. Anyways, sure. I think so. I'm do you want to give a quick wrap up on our news, and then we can give some personal updates if people are still into that.
So I think the wrap up on the news is Kanye West is running for president. That's one. Then Baba Ramdev has released a cure for coronavirus. That's two. And forgot the third.
I never thought I'd hear Kanye West and Baba Ramdev in the same breath.
Yeah, and the
Yes.
third is TikTok being banned in India. And fourth is cancel culture, which is being very prevalent these days. Can you see Yajat's
We
video?
give
By the way?
good
No.
news.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yajat's
Okay,
video is
so
on.
now that Yajat's video has sort of
No, it's
decided to
fine.
That's it.
cancel itself. I think we've come to the end of this episode. Oh, and now he just left. Okay, he's back. But anyways, as I was saying, I think it's time to wrap this episode up. For any of you that are still watching, thank you for reaching the end of this video, and we'll see you guys in another 2 to 3 weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, would you like to give some loving gestures? Or
I'm
we can
not
just
doing
use
that again, bro.
we can just
I'm
use
not
last time's clip.
Yeah,
Insert that here.
that's going to be the running joke for this entire series. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching, listening, whatever you're doing, whatever platform you're listening to this on. And if you haven't already, like we said for the third time this episode, check out our other episodes, check out our Instagram. The links are all in the description, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode of Just the Cast.
Oh,
That's
professional
deep, bro.
YouTuber.
Professional.